Alright, here we go.
Okay. Good day, everyone. Welcome to the pilot episode of ACS Reacts. This is AJ Hernandez, joined by my co-hosts.
Hey guys, I'm Shane Dumindin.
What's up? It's Calvin.
Here in ACS Reacts, we read short stories, analyze, and reflect on them.
Yeah, and we are no way related to the local manufacturing company, guys.
A good one, AJ. Real knee slapper right there.
Yeah.
Anyways, today we will be talking about Belonging to My Body by Michelle Tan. AJ, what do you think the essay was about exactly?
To begin with, the essay is about the author, Michelle Tan, who hails from a Filipino Chinese family and her experiences with body image during her adolescent period and how it eventually affected her self esteem. She also discusses the conversations of her family members during gatherings, describing it as a quote unquote game, as she did not perceive it to be serious.
Ooh, a game? What is this game though? Could you elaborate, Calvin?
Hmm. Well, Shane, as mentioned by Michelle, the game could be described as some sort of banter among family members. They exchange degrading remarks which often pertain to their physical appearance. In order for the game to end, one must get the last insult into the conversation over the other, and if the receiver can no longer get even, the other wins. Though in our main character's case, she sees this as a mere game to cope with the fact that her family members were constantly putting her under the spotlight to make fun of. The reason she saw this as a game growing up was so that these remarks would not affect her much more than she already was.
Ah, I see, but before we dive down further in the reading, let's get the basics out of the way first, no? Calvin, what's narrative structure do you think this story follows?
Hmm. I believe that the narrative structure this follows would be the coming full circle style. The main character, Michelle, ends her story by acknowledging how far she has come as a supposed ugly duckling of the family. Through her physical and internal development, she slowly began to realize how much has changed since her earliest days of being a child. She could recall how her family would remark how much better things would have been if she were a boy, due to the dark skin and chubby figure she had as a child. Comments such as these have heavily affected Michelle's ability to receive and reciprocate compliments given to her by her fellow relatives. Instances such as her father's jokes and her aunt's remark during the housewarming party have greatly impacted her way of seeing herself, thus using the game as a means to cope with all the degrading things they say to her. As soon as adolescence came, Michelle's features soon became a sight for many to envy, especially her younger cousins. One of these cousins being Gemberly. Somehow, the main character was able to see her younger self within Gemberly, which caused her to open her eyes to the fact that there was a system which needed to be amended, starting with her. As someone who never saw the traditions of her family's game from their point of view, it all boiled down to Michelle to act as a catalyst for change. In doing so, she was able to recall her roots and do the complete opposite of taking action as a means to attain the kind of environment she wanted for her family, which was to keep quiet. At the end of the story, she finds herself completely different from who she was before, and this acted as an incentive for her to be a role model for her younger relatives in order to break the system of body shaming occurring in her family.
With this in mind, how do you think the author's perspective changed throughout the text, Shane?
Throughout the text, I really do believe the author's perspective changed quite a lot. We started off with the author's experiences, assumingly as a preteen or a childhood, being dark and plump, which is not ideal for her family standards. In this stage, the author feels irritated with the comments and has tried avoiding them enough through changing the topic or letting her mom defend her. On the next stage of the text, when the author was invited for the housewarming in Manila, when she realized the game, the author was able to keep her facade of enthusiasm even when understanding the undertones of the statements, the aunt said. At age 11, she even rebelled or acted on defiance against these standards by not wearing sunscreen, but later submitting to the norms. The next phase was when she was in control of the game, with her younger cousin asking how she was able to slim down by the buffet table. Even though she's not completely in control of the game, she was able to agree or submit with the comments suggested onto her, like the ones with her aunt in the beach, reminding her reminding her how chubby she was before. The next phase was understanding the standards outside her families from friends, complimenting her on how she looks, oblivious on how genuine these compliments are at first, but was able to fully confine with her in the end. Her final phase in the text is when she was able to join in with the banters and was able to be more confident in herself.
It's very interesting, Shane. How do you feel about the change in perspective?
In my opinion, I felt like the author was able to come in terms with the playful banter and not think so much about it, you know. I feel like she was able to be
Hmm.
more confident in herself to the point where criticizing her looks would do no damage for her. Another
Hmm.
opinion on the change that it could be from understanding that each family member has probably experienced the same thing as hers, with the cousins taking pictures and wacky poses, being laughed at by their family and all. It kind of gave her that sort of feeling that she wasn't alone in experiencing these insults disguised as jokes.
True, true. The author really told us a lot about her experiences, right?
Yeah, definitely. In my opinion, it follows the approach of Lopate due to its introspective and reflective nature. And what does the Lopate approach entail? To Philip Lopate, it is intimacy, as the writer confides everything from gossip to wisdom. There is also basic research on oneself, and it gives a certain unity to human experience. The author describes her own personal experiences from her own point of view, clear from the usage of the word I throughout the essay, together with thoughts in her mind that she does not necessarily say out loud. And clear in the paragraphs where she talks about adolescence from her experience, her passive aggressive rebellion, she reflects on how much her character has changed from those times to the time that she was writing the essay, which was definitely after surround being submissive to the norms. She just does nothing and lets the game of teasing her die out, mostly because there's a new brunt in the form of her younger cousin, Gemberly. She felt mostly unsettled, but relieved, albeit a tad. Later in the essay, when both Michelle and Gemberly talked at the beach about the latter's weight, the former simply reminded her that she will also get thinner and taller, just like her earlier experiences.
So, we have tackled the more technical part of the essay already, but like, it's time to get some input from everyone, you know. How did you guys resonate with the text? How did you feel? And like, what were the things that you realized? I'm genuinely curious.
Well, since the text vividly describes the ability to meet the unnecessarily high expectations of one's family, I am personally able to relate to it from that aspect of the story. At the start of the essay, we see Michelle standing up straight in hopes that she may impress her mother's side of the family, especially after being made the center of attention so suddenly. As a child, this was somewhat an attempt to be grateful for the attention she received and used it to conform to the traditions of her family. These actions took development as the plot progressed. Seeing how Michelle did her best to pose properly at the end of the story, the mentality of conforming to impress one's family has always stuck to her growing up. But what changed was what she wanted for her family. She did not wish for her younger cousin to be treated the way she was growing up, and with Gemberly being her one way ticket to change, she is determined to take action.
What made me relate to the text was my tendency to be jealous of other people, including my friends, over superficial things like appearance or accomplishments. Admittedly, I tend to look down on myself, yet I do not tell my friends of my jealousy towards them or just communicate it differently like, I am jealous of who I thought you are, as I end up going through things that no one ever sees behind the scenes, and also as not to be completely on bad terms with them. Such personal experiences include me losing a lot of weight to the point of being skinny, but not to the point of being anorexic when I was 13, then gaining more weight after walking with a friend during 10th grade, which at the time, when a teacher noticed him, she commented about how he lost weight. Also, after I started working out last school year, my family and other people I know would comment about how I lost weight, which,
Hmm.
in all honesty, was a form of positive validation and source of confidence for me. I guess, looking back at everything there, looking back at all of it, I was seeking validation from others to make myself feel better. And looking back at the essay wherein Tan wrote that she became self-conscious and a bit embarrassed after wearing a bikini with a modest skirt, plus my personal experiences, it is needless to say that self-confidence in one's body is something that one cannot attain instantly. It requires work. One realization that I made is that the issue of body image is universal. It does not matter whether you are a boy, girl, or member of the LGBTQ community, a celebrity or an ordinary person, affluent or impoverished, or even light or dark skinned. The issue affects people irrespective of these traits and can result in deteriorating mental health and self-confidence. I remember last December 14, 2020, fans and supporters of British girl group Little Mix were in shock when they found out that Jessie Nelson had left the band due to struggles with mental health. She struggled with body image and cyberbullying since the X Factor, even revealing that she would starve herself before performing, then binge eat, and even attempted to take her own life. Come to think of it, these experiences are a tad different, as Tan's experience is with her family, while Nelson's is with a reality singing competition, the limelight, and complete strangers in social media. So I think the latter's is way worse.
Ooh, in my opinion, like I really resonated with the text because I've experienced almost the same thing with the author. You know, growing up in a Filipino Chinese family, there really is a standard, not just for women but for everyone. And honestly, when I was younger, I wasn't in that standard, which was tall, big, and strong for guys. In contrast, I was very petite and small person. Like to put into perspective, I was like 4'10" and I was incredibly underweight with a very dark complexion like 6, 7 years ago.
Hmm.
I was literally the opposite of the standard. I remember like this one time my uncle commented on how small my hands were, how petite my limbs were. And just like the author, I really had to have a facade of not showing emotions. Like another standard for guys, if I react to the slightest bit to those kinds of banters without the same tone, I would be deemed emotional and rude. However, unlike the author, I still have not completely moved on from it. That's why I am very critical to myself on how others would perceive me. I hope to break away or not be so self critical about the standard. But right now, I am my biggest enemy. It has really gotten so bad to the point when people compliment me or say they like me, I would just be like, really? With this face? Are you sure? Damn, your standards are so low. You know, it still really affects me. Like going back to what my uncle said, I still measure my hands from time to time. And like, fun fact, share ko lang, my hands are like 1.5 inch smaller than the average male hand, lol. Anyways, with that, I realized that I was not alone. At first, I thought my family was the only family who does this. It gave me a sense of that it's quite normal in the family, even though it's not supposed to be. Like, don't get me wrong. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm glad that I share this kind of experience with someone outside of my family.
How about your favorite part of the essay? I think reading it, mine would definitely be the last paragraph, wherein although she admits to feeling embarrassed after the picture taking, it seemingly did not matter at all to her. It, to me, was the end of the chapter of her self-deprecation and the beginning of the chapter of her self-confidence.
Oh, my favorite part was when Michelle threatened to stop fixing her father's laptop. Like, in my opinion, it's like the first time the author was able to defend or speak up for herself against her father's insult disguised as a joke. Her reply matched the energy of her father's insult as in a playful banter tone, which was able to make her father retract his statement.
What a queen. My favorite part of the text was the posing scene at the conclusion of the plot. It showed how Michelle's physical development from being the so called ugly duckling to the beautiful swan she is today has affected her way of seeing the family's culture of body shaming. For a moment, she was happy with the way she was and how she saw herself. However, seeing how not everyone saw this culture of body shaming as a playful joke the way her family did caused her to be a deviant in this dangerous game her family played. But here's the thing, did you guys like the essay?
Oh, like for me, I really enjoyed the essay. In my opinion, this essay should be read by everyone. Being body shamed in our families is a common occurrence in my opinion, and I think letting people know about your experiences can help other teenagers realize that they are not alone. You know, having essays like this or being open forces conversations that would help destigmatize about body shaming.
For me, I did like the essay as I was able to relate to it, plus it serves as a reminder on how the most harmless of words can, to another person, actually bring them down. And like I said before, I can take away that confidence and contentment in one's body is not instantly attainable. Rather, it is gradually attainable.
Well, the essay was able to capture the individuality of the main character, how being to conform at one point means letting go of the past. Being Michelle's shoes, we found ourselves going through the essential parts of her life, which made her the person she is today. From the game her family would play to the final scene where the photo shoot occurred, the main character has had her fair share of struggles, as well as her triumphs near the latter part of the story, but it leaves enough room for us to think about what may take place afterwards. After all, we absolutely love the story and how it captured a glimpse of what other various family traditions seem like, and how such an overlooked act of body shaming leads to long term repercussions.
And that wraps up our first podcast. Again, this is AJ Hernandez.
This is Shane Dumindin.
And this is Calvin Flores.
Until next time, this is ACS Reacts. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you
Yeah,
guys. Have a
thank you
great day.
guys.
Hey.
Whoop, whoop. Woot, woot.
And